Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the Drop Goal podcast. Coming up on today's episode, we'll be speaking about the postponement of Super League, and we'll also be having a look and answering some of your questions in as much detail as possible. So, without wasting any more time, just sit back, relax, grab the popcorn and enjoy. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the. Okay then, let's get started. A warm welcome back to everyone who's tuning in. First of all, let's just review the last couple of fixtures that were played most recently. So we have Catalans at 30, Salford 14, Wigan 30, Hull KR 16, Hull FC 4, Wire 30, Salford 18, Wigan 14, and finally Castleford Tigers 28, 14 to Saints. A few shocker results there, but other than that, I think they were definitely well earned by the team on the night. Now, let's move on to the main event. We're speaking about COVID-19.
Can announce today, and Gavin Williamson is making a statement now in the House of Commons, that after schools shut their gates from Friday afternoon, they will remain closed for most pupils, for the vast majority of pupils, until further notice.
Well, special thanks to The Guardian for that source. All rights go to them. So, let's begin. What a week it has been for coronavirus. It has ripped through the Western countries, with Italy going on lockdown and other countries following the same steps. But it has a shocking turn for Super League and Rugby League as a whole. Super League has been postponed until at least the 3rd of April, but what will the effect of COVID-19 really have on our sport in the long run? Well, here's a list of things I could see happening in the future. Well then, the first thing I could see happening is, of course, players not being paid. Now, we may see this in lower leagues such as the Championship. It might be rare in the Super League, but I do think it could happen. I mean, we've already seen a number of players, get online and speak about this issue. So if you like more information on that, then, just go to your favourite rugby players' Instagram or whatever. But, if there's no fans, no games, no money for clubs, which means no money for players. So it could be a big issue, especially for those on large contracts, like those ones of 250 grand a year or whatever, or just everyone as a whole, really. So that could be the first thing I see happening. The second is a further postponement of Rugby League. Now, this might not be a big issue as it is for health and safety, but if Rugby League goes on and gets postponed again, it could be bad. It's only just begun, and now it's been postponed until the 3rd of April, if my sources are correct. And if it does get a further postponement and coronavirus carries on getting worse, then we really could see a scrap of the 2020 season, which is a shame because, it's only just begun. But Boris Johnson said, schools might not even open until September. So if schools don't open until September, I don't see, especially not fans in the games, happening for a long time if it does go through. Obviously, things could change in the future, but at the moment we've just got to take things lightly with sports. If they say April 3rd, it'll be back on in a number of weeks. Even if it is with no fans, the money, the clubs will still get the money from people tuning in, as they'll have more people watching the televised games as they're not at the matches. So there are a few things I could see happening. Obviously, a few more things could happen. But that's all at the moment. Coronavirus could get worse and the sport could entirely crash. I mean, we've had rumours going around that in the next couple of months, if NRL doesn't carry on playing, that the whole sport could crumble, which, I don't really believe. But if sources are saying that, then, what can you really say? Unless it's from the Sun, then you can't really believe them, no offence. But, if the NRL crumbles, it'll be a big shame. So I think that is why they're trying to, house all the players together and play the matches in a small town behind closed doors. I have seen a small town in Queensland, Australia. That's where they might play the NRL games. But as speaking about Super League and the Championship, we're not too sure how it could go. Obviously, we'll keep everyone updated on our Instagram at the Drop Goal Podcast. Come along, drop a follow, like our posts, send us a few DMs. You know, you could be on the podcast soon, but we'll keep you updated. Obviously, podcast planning to do every Thursday now, so that'll be good. We'll keep you updated, but you know, Super League could have a nasty turn here, especially the Championship. You know, a lot of those teams are, you know, part-time teams. So if coronavirus does hit bad, then they're definitely not going to have any money to pay their players. So that could take a nasty turn. But for now, we've just got to take it lightly, you know. Agree with what the RFL are saying, you know, trust them. Let's just hope the government get this virus under control. And hopefully on the 3rd of April, we see rugby back on. Right, we're going to move on now. So now we're going to be speaking about your questions. We'll be answering them in as much detail as possible, so stay tuned for that. Okay, let's start the questions and the answers. Thank you to everyone who dropped their questions into the Instagram at the Drop Goal Podcast. There was lots of questions, but we could only choose the best one. We've chosen 2 for today's episode. If your question didn't get featured, I'm very sorry. They either weren't good enough or will get featured in a later episode. So let's get started. So at rugbyleague__fans on Instagram said, can you speak about the cup and what COVID-19 will do to the game? Now, I've already spoken a little bit about this, so you know, if you're here and you've not listened to the rest of the podcast, then what are you doing? But basically, you know, players might not get paid. It'll be postponed for a lot longer, I think. Super League could crash, who knows? But let's go on to the cup. I'll just get the fixtures up and I'll be right back. Okay then, so we'll start from Wednesday the 11th of March. So of course we had the Huddersfield versus Toronto game. Now this was a very shocking game as Toronto managed to get their first win of this year. So the final score was Huddersfield 0, Toronto 18. Moving on, we had Whitehaven RLFC versus Dewsbury Rams. Dewsbury won 22-16. Friday the 13th of March, Featherstone 46, Hunslet 6. What a result for the Rovers. We had Wakefield 17, Bradford Bulls 14. Very close game there. Would have expected Wakefield to do better against the Championship mid-table team, but you know, Wakefield are just as bad. So that was a good game. Sunday the 15th of March, the most recent, we had York 70, Rochdale Hornets 12. Big result there for York City Knights, my dark horses of the Championship. If you didn't listen to episode 1 getting started, it is on our YouTube channel, so go watch that to see my opinion on the Championship. Widnes 32, Swinton Lions 16. Now Swinton, you know, they're going to drop a bit this year considering Matty Ashton's gone and that was their star player. But you know, good result for Widnes. Then we've got Newcastle 38, Dewsbury 30. Hull KR 22, Lee Centurions 19. Big result there for Hull KR, only just beating Lee. Sheffield 34 and Workington Town 18, my bad. So good result for Sheffield. Now let's move on to the draws. Obviously, these games are all scheduled on BBC Sports to be played on the 4th of April. Whether they will get played is a different story. So we've got Leeds Rhinos versus Hull KR, Newcastle versus Toronto, Salford versus St Helens, Sheffield versus Hull FC, Wakefield versus Featherstone, Widnes versus Catalans, York versus Castleford, which be an interesting game. Then we've got Wigan versus Warrington, which many people are not happy about, as it always bloody happens. But yeah, we'll see what's to come with that. My opinion on who will win the Challenge Cup final this year. At the moment, I'm going to say Warrington just because they're my team, but, any team can win it. Like, I think the dark horses of that competition, you've got to say Castleford, Hull FC, and Wigan. I know they're all big teams, but they don't really have much success in the Challenge Cup in the last few years, apart from Hull FC. But yeah, if you had to ask me at this moment in time, I would say Warrington retain it again. But there's always those contenders like St Helens, dark horses, like I said before. But I really can't predict it at the moment. So thank you for your question. If you'd like to follow him on Instagram, his @ is at rugbyleague__fans on Instagram. Thank you very much for your question. Much appreciated. Okay, moving on to the second question. This question was from our friends from at Hull FC fanpage _ on Instagram. Now they will be joining us soon for an episode on the podcast, hopefully. No official date yet though, so stay tuned. But their question was, can you speak about the Hull versus Warrington game and Radders getting sacked live on TV? Good question. A lot of people already spoke about it, but here's my story. So, like I said last episode, both coaches were under a bit of pressure, so everyone knew it was going to be a bit of a good game. But now everyone knows, Lee Radford got the sack live on TV. Everyone knows a winning coach never gets sacked. So obviously, Hull FC lost. Now you heard the score earlier on in the podcast. If you cannot remember it, it was Hull FC 4, Warrington. Let me see. I would say, if I can remember, 38. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, like I said, coming into the game, both coaches were under pressure. Warrington got back to winning ways against Castleford with that drop goal. Hull FC also did the same against Wakefield. So, both teams were on a level playing ground. But at the end of the day, Warrington ran riot against Hull FC with Blake Austin scoring a couple tries, Gareth Widdop scoring a few, Bernard Masilla. Everyone had a go on the score sheet. Now, we did see Anthony Gelling back from what. He's available for selection, so obviously he played. He also did get his first try in Warrington colours, and the iconic out of the cuffs celebration he brung out. So yeah, that was good. I know everyone picked on me last time saying Gelling, but I know a few people that say Gelling, so I just said both, just to be sure. But you guys prefer Gelling, so that's what it'll be. Okay, so now on to the real talking point of this question. What do I think about Lee Radford being sacked live on TV? Well, there's a few things that I think. It's quite unprofessional, but with the performance, it wasn't consistent enough. Now, there was rumours going around that he had butted someone, but that was already confirmed to be false. So if you believe that, then, believe it, but it's not true. But yeah, I just think it was a bit unprofessional. Obviously, we'll just speak a bit back. Obviously, my last episode I did mention how both teams were under some pressure, the coaches and players, as they were not performing for the amount of money they had spent. But that's the usual for Hull FC and Warrington, which is sad to hear. So yeah. Obviously, Lee Radford was under a bit of pressure, the same with Steve Price, but as everyone knows, a winning coach never gets sacked, so therefore Hull FC obviously lost. Now, on the night, Warrington were just simply the better team. They were not the best team, but they were the better team at that time. I think it was 38-4 to Warrington, I did say earlier on, to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, pretty much Warrington were going to Hull. Oh my god, Warrington were going to nil Hull, but then in the last couple of minutes they managed to pull one back just to not be put fully to bed. But yeah, so obviously with that awful performance, Lee Radford had to go for Hull. And we had their chairman go out and say a few words on Sky as to why he wasn't being interviewed. Now, there has been some talk around this already, as everyone has already spoke about it, but obviously that is my opinion. I do believe if he was given some time, like, beforehand, like before the match, he was like, right, listen, Lee, if you lose this, you're sacked. No one knows if that's the case or not yet, but the way it was, it didn't seem to be like that. It just kind of came out straight after, just because they lost, which obviously, like I've said, is very unprofessional, which is something we shouldn't be having in any sports, in my opinion. But there's not really anyone to, cover his place now. There's no other people to fill in. I saw on some Hull, actually it was the person who asked this question at Hull FC fanpage _. He asked who would be the next Hull manager. Hull fans were saying Sean Wayne, which is very unlikely. Some were even going as far as to say Lee Braze, but no one's really sure at the moment. It would be the same if Steve Price lost. If Warrington's team lost, then he would have gone most likely. Would it have been live like that? No one knows, but there's no one to fill in the place at the moment, so Hull are really going to be struggling over the next few weeks when rugby finally returns. But I hope that answered your question. I don't know too much about it, obviously, because something went on behind closed doors. There must have been a talk like, if you lose this, you're gone. If you win, you've got to win a certain amount of games before you're then gone. Whatever. But yeah, that was my opinion. Hope it answers your question. Much appreciated. Again, his @ on Instagram is @HullFC fanpage _. So go drop in a follow if you like. Thank you for your question. Okay, so that's the end of the Q&A. Thank you for all your questions, everyone who submitted. Much appreciated. It's also the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed episode 2. Drop a comment on YouTube of what you think I can improve, what you like me to speak about next time, all of that other stuff. Obviously, rugby is now off, so if I do not upload again next Thursday or anytime next week, obviously you all know the reason. Obviously, I might speak, just have a few chats with some players, a few friends of mine. But probably nothing too rugby related at the moment. Now, obviously, like you heard before, schools are now closed, which means I am off for however long. But that does not mean podcasts will come more frequently, as I will have to work at home. Now that everyone is at home, it'll be like, I'll struggle to record as much as I've got work to do at home, find the time and that, but I'll try and keep you all updated on Instagram. Just want to say a special thanks to @HullFC fanpage _ and @rugbyleague _ fans on Instagram for your questions, and everyone else who submitted it. The growth recently on our Instagram and YouTube has been insane. I just want to thank you all for that. I hope you enjoyed this episode. There's hopefully more to come, like I said. If you haven't watched episode 1 now, Getting Started, it is live on our YouTube, except it's not live, it's just posted. But if you'd like to watch that before you watch this, I would recommend it. That's all I've got to say. I hope you all stay healthy, have a good one. All I've got to say now is, howdy, partners. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the. Congratulations if you got to this part of the video. Before you leave, I would just like to say a big thank you for watching the episodes. It means a lot. Before you leave, please could you drop a like, comment and subscribe, and also follow our Instagram @the Drop Goal Podcast. That's all from me. I hope you all have a good day. And again, thank you for literally staying to the end of this video, because I know most people would have clicked off by now, so thank you. See you next time, guys. I hope you have a good one.